And there it is, once again. People hated on me when I said that Ubisoft is in hot water. They hated me even more when I said it looks like Ubisoft is fiscally unsustainable. And they went completely bananas when I said that Ubisoft is gonna shut down because their only choice is bankruptcy. They hated me. These people called me stupid. They said, "What do you know, person that has worked in the government and finance and has been absolutely amazing at it and whose track record is so goddamn good that even the board said, well, how about we don't let him leave because he's useful?" Huh? But no, I'm just a random idiot. Not an engineer like Mudahar, not a programmer like Pirate Software, and definitely cannot guess that Tuesdays follow after Mondays like Asmongold. But here we are anyway, vindicated once again, boys. Oh, I love seeing Ubisoft suffer. It is beautiful. It is delicious.
There is no better way to open today's story than with a quote. Yes, I'm Eve's son. That's not something I hide from. But my appointment isn't only about.
Hey, I would. I definitely would hide from something as pitiful as that.
Family ties. It's about what Ubisoft needs at this moment.
And that's a Nepo baby? Ubisoft needs a Nepo baby? From the guy who destroyed Ubisoft? That sounds about right.
Of a statement, what Ubisoft needs, and what Charlie Gilmo is defending very poorly, is nepotism. Ubisoft needs nepotism because they need to keep it in the family. We've got the new $1.8 billion subsidiary. It's currently unnamed. We're going to call it Ubisoft. It's finally starting to be fleshed out. And
Ubisoft Secundus. And the first Ubisoft is Ubisoft Prime, obviously.
As it is fleshed out, we see that Ubisoft has made sure there are Gilmo family members in control. Because look, having spent all that time and money making sure that Tencent backed the family's position, they are not going to risk someone else running the show.
Make good games or enforce nepotism to the highest degree known to man. Tough choice if you're Ubisoft, I guess.
Show as they now start changing how the whole company works. And they start trying to spin a big.
Oh, and by the way, if someone's currently thinking, well, can his Nepo baby son be worse? His Nepo baby son definitely can be worse. He's probably even more woke than Ubisoft Prime currently. Yeah, there's a huge chance that Nepo baby son is even more woke than Daddy Dearest. So, and I mean, Ubisoft already has transcended woke, okay?
Public narrative about how, no, this time it's different, we're different, the change is going to be real. Let me know, after you finish the video, how much you believe that will be the case.
I believe that means there's gonna be a lot more strong, independent women of color leading the franchise. Definitely.
So it's been a fairly busy few weeks over at Ubisoft. The company just held their annual general meeting in Paris. And here's the interesting bit. It was actually open to the public. And that meant they had to balance investor questions with those of public stockholders. Obviously, there's room for drama there, and we did learn a few things. As an example, on Stop Killing Games, Ubisoft said that they will comply with the law, and they claim that they help people upgrade whenever service ends. They also said they're still not worried about the culture war stuff around Assassin's Creed.
Do they? I'm not sure about that. And also, this is a lie.
Shadows. They blamed brand fatigue for Outlaws failing and also for the quality targets being missed. They actually teased the new Prince of Persia remake. I will not hold my breath on that. It's been, years and years and years.
Dude, the Prince of Persia remake is probably going to be one of the saddest things ever. There was a Prince of Persia game before this, and it was a 2D platformer, and it sold something like 30, it sold copies in the net worth of 30 million or something like that, or 50 million, I don't know, or 20 million. It was not a lot. And I was like, wait, why is this a bad thing? It's a 2D platformer, and it's pretty decent, right? Okay, who cares that it didn't sell 100 million, right? it's a good marketing that the franchise is coming back. This is a good thing, technically. I don't see anything wrong with it. And then I was, wait a minute, and I googled how much the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, or whatever the side scroll was called, cost to make. Because I was under the impression that it costed like 30 million or maybe 50 million max. 200 million to make a 2D platformer. Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows probably has cost a billion for Ubisoft.
So apparently they say it's coming through.
And you can say I'm crazy, but I predicted that Ubisoft's debt is probably from 10 to 15 billion easily. And it's currently roughly estimated by everyone else that it's 13, which was also the number that I said because it's in the middle. So, you can call me crazy all that you want, but my track record shows that even if I'm crazy, I'm somehow good crazy.
And they also tacitly confirmed reports of a new first-person Ghost Recon game. That's actually exciting. Maybe.
Is it?
Asterisks. I don't trust them. But there was one good thing I didn't expect. They actually confirmed that they're interested in smaller AA games, right? That's the type of game that probably we've kind of lost in the market. And it's where so much creativity used to be, because those were games not saddled by, like, I don't know, $200 million budgets. And after all that came the pseudo-apology. Yves, who is the CEO, addressed those impacted by 3 executives who recently were actually convicted in France. Yes, convicted of enabling a culture of sexual harassment at the company. He also claimed the new procedures would stop that sort of thing from happening again. But here's the thing. I just rocketed through all of that stuff because honestly, the real news was not at the annual general meeting with public stockholders and such. No, the biggest changes actually came in the days before, because we actually now know who runs the Tencent-backed subsidiary. This is the...
Oh, god damn it. God damn it. He's so rich that he didn't even care to have a posture developed. Oh no. Oh no, I can already tell that neck, you know? I can already tell that neck goes like this and there's no chin. Oh no.
One that exists to control Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. It's quite literally Ubisoft splitting, and as it turns out, this is just stage 1 of the plan. Ubisoft went to Variety for these announcements because, you know, it's Variety. It's a bastion of nice, comforting corporate interviews with, you know, lots of little softballs. I mean, hell, even the nepotism question was softballed. This stuff is all calculated. I mean, even thinking of the timing here,
has your son, who's currently 30 plus years old and is being treated like a toddler, has never had a job, or does not even understand what the concept of grocery stores is, do you think he's gonna be a good lead for the company? Yes, yes, he's gonna be great, trust me, bruh.
Netflix greenlit the Assassin's Creed series a few days before this interview, and it's an interview that's, well, very much about the 2 people who are now running that series that's designed completely.
Listen, the idea that this Nepo baby is capable of handling and leading Ubisoft in the right direction, I will choose to believe Tectone saying for the 57th time that he's gonna do things this time, that big things are happening. And when big things don't happen, he's banning everyone from the chat who asks when are the big things happening. And then big thing number 53 is gonna happen. Trust me, bros, in a week it's gonna happen. Listen, I'd rather choose Lightone over the Gilmos at this point. I think that's a better choice for clarity and transparency
around investor storytelling and confidence. So this Variety thing was a puff piece, one designed to announce new leadership comfortably. No hard questions. So, what were they announcing? Well, they were announcing the 2 co-CEOs of Ubisoft. We're going to call it Ubisoft because it's the second Ubisoft company.
Ubisoft Secundus!
And it actually still doesn't have a proper name. First up, we've got Charlie Guillemot, and if Guillemot sounds familiar to you, it should. Yves Guillemot is the founder and CEO of Ubisoft overall, so that's them keeping it in the family. Now, he's returned to the company after just under 4 years away, and by the way, those 4 years did involve a crypto venture, because of course they did. The second guy then is Christophe Duren. Here's the fun thing. He's the cousin of the overall CEO, Yves Guillemot. So they're...
And you thought I'm kidding about trusting lying Tectone more than a Gilmo. I wasn't. I wasn't. That's the scary part.
Very much again keeping it in the family. So essentially, that means he's Charlie's cousin once removed. Apparently, then, there were no better applicants for the job. The only people they could find were in the family. What if I told you there's almost certainly a pretty major reason why?
That's not the only thing they keep in the family.
Why they did that. I'll get to that in a second. Now, in the interview, they explain their roles. Essentially, that Charlie will be handling the what, and Darren will be managing the how. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means that Charlie will decide what Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, or Rainbow Six are actually offering to players, right? Different types of game experience, all that stuff.
Oh, it's housekeeping. That's the buzzing noise. Billiards housekeeping is happening. Okay.
Darren is then going to be making sure that it happens, that the tech exists, that the teams are supported, that the games actually get shipped. That kind of production stuff. And as for why he got the role, well, other than the obvious familial reason, his time away apparently helped. He managed Unagi, a mobile game, and Web3.
Unagi is a food. It's raw. Star something? I forgot what it's called, but that's Unagi.
Company, because of course there's crypto involved. And he came from mobile experience, actually co-leading one of Ubisoft's mobile teams from 2014 to 2021. Then of course,
co-leading is the easiest way of saying I nepo babied really hard there.
He left to go his own way and do the crypto stuff. Now, his departure wasn't exactly a calm one. It came after Elite Squad used BLM imagery for terrorists in 2020, or at the very least, you know, the common kind of like fist up solidarity imagery, which is also used by BLM. So obviously, Ubisoft, big corporate entity, very much did not want to have drama. They want money, not drama. And he left.
I don't know, I would argue Ubisoft definitely does not want money considering their track record at this point.
Shortly after that. Now what's fun is that Yves Guillemot says that it's his entrepreneurial perspective that's going to be bringing Ubisoft a real strength. You know, an outsider who can shape...
Bro! Should we... No. We already know that the stock is going down. It's not like this is going to make the stock go less down.
Company up, by which he means an outsider who is in the family who actually used to work at Ubisoft for quite a long time. Though, being real with you, I would wager, I would put money on it actually being about trust. And this is where you need to know the
well, yeah, that's why you keep it in family, duh.
Context of this story. You see, years and years and years ago, Vivendi actually did a hostile takeover of Gameloft. That was a big loss for the Guillemot family. They then tried a hostile takeover of Ubisoft, which actually did fail because of Tencent's help.
Hostile takeover means you buy the control packet from the shares, aka 51%.
And recently, they faced activist investors who've been very hostile to to the current leader.
These are not AG Investments is not activism. They're literally just pissed because Ubisoft is a bunch of idiots who are completely ruining their investment through strategies as, how about we make a game about Japan where a black dude kills native Japans, and if you do not bow down to him, you get murdered. And let's use George Floyd as the character model. Yeah, that's being against that is not called being an activist. Being against that is called I don't want my money to be up in flames.
Leadership, and funnily enough, Tencent have also came in to help them get out of that. So essentially, with that in mind, it's really not a surprise that Ubisoft have decided to close ranks, because basically, family, trust, lineage, right?
Okay, I'm gonna say what actually matters here, okay? It's the fact that none of this honestly matters. You know why? Because all of these actions are based on the idea that Ubisoft is going to be allowed to be held, and Tencent, aka China, gets substantial position in Europe. The European courts are currently handling this. Europe is not going to allow China to go in there, okay? It's not.
But then there's the other part of Ubisoft, of it sometimes being a pretty damn shitty place to work. You know, see the 3 executives who were convicted earlier. So inside...
Don't kid, literally bring Bobby Kotick back.
Gaming did report that his return came with something specific. an acknowledgement. Apparently, he actually took responsibility
What is that acknowledgement? A fucking blood moon and wolves howling?
for the 2020 controversy. So essentially, they're getting him and they're pairing him with Christophe, who would be seen to be a pair of safe hands. And likely the safest hands they could find. I mean, he's been at Ubisoft since 1990. He ran Ubisoft Montreal since 2020. That means that he shipped Assassin's Creed Shadows. And while that was happening, he took control of all of North America since October 2023. Well, Ubisoft North America, not actual North America. So basically, if you're finding yourself needing to convince Tencent that there's a firm hand in the tiller, someone who's used to operating semi-autonomously from like big Ubisoft in Paris, he's essentially your man. But here's the thing, these figureheads are only part of the story, because in reality, Ubisoft have been planning a complete overhaul for months. Let me know if you think this is going to work. So, before announcing to Ubisoft, the company created something else. They created the Transformation Committee. This is a group of people who basically were tasked with fixing Ubisoft. That could mean a sale. It could mean more layoffs. Essentially, any number of options were possible, and they ended up choosing the deal with Tencent. Now, who was on this committee? Well, it was mostly senior Ubisoft executives, various disciplines, right? Legal was there, HR was there, and they had 100 days to lock in the plan. But that deadline has passed. And it also is a group that included someone rather familiar, Charlie Gilmour. And Eve explained the thinking of that in this interview with Variety, where he basically said they didn't want to pull existing leadership from Ubisoft franchises, so they wanted to lock Charlie in early, someone who could basically step into the new role. But here's where it gets really interesting, right? This new way of governance may spread across all of Ubisoft. And that might seem to you profoundly uninteresting. Who the fuck cares about governance in Ubisoft? But the bit where it could actually matter is for a very long time, Ubisoft Paris sort of had this like little taste-making division in it. And that basically would be responsible for greenlighting projects. Like, as an example, if you wanted a big Arthurian role-playing game, well, you could have had that, but the tastemakers in Paris cancelled it. So the idea then that it could be a little bit less centralized.
Those people, by the way, they're the good ones. They're responsible for Expedition Clé Obscure, l'Expeditions, très, being a real thing, by the way. So those people are really good at ruining their own company, but making other people move out and make really good games. So I'm kind of for it. I think they're good.
Could actually be a good thing, at least from a creative standpoint. That could be good for us, but it could also be bad, and don't worry, I'll get onto that very shortly in this video. We should probably know how it actually works, so here's how. These will be, quote, coherent creative houses, each reflecting different game experiences. Each one will effectively be like Ubisoft, essentially lopped off and running its own stuff. Autonomous leadership, their own financial goals, their own targets, and we're going to get full details of all this in September. It's essentially them federalizing. Think about it this way. Groups of developers and groups of brands, each with their own specialties, each with their own targets. As an example, one of these creative houses may be focusing on family games, right? Maybe things like Prince of Persia, like Rayman. Another one might be RPGs and strategy. So as an example, it could handle Heroes of Might and Magic.
Why are we talking about this? Let's call it a department. It already exists. There's already people doing these sorts of things. Why? How did we get here?
Magic and Anno, which, to be fair, are both brilliant. And in the best case scenario, this could really work. In the best case, it does sound really promising and so much better than the shitty centralized group in Paris who do seem to have just made continually stupid decisions that just eroded like so much of what Ubisoft was. Basically, you know the way Ubisoft used to be defined by like radio towers being everywhere in games? That was that like core.
I mean, I wish it still was, honestly, because that was probably the good old times.
Taste-making group basically enforcing that across all of their games. So thus far in the video, it actually does seem like a good thing, right? It seems like these games could flourish. If you're a fan of Anno, as an example, this could be amazing news. But here's the thing. I do not want to be a merchant of false hope, and there absolutely are risks, because this could really go south as well. All right, so Ubisoft is still majority owned by the overall Ubisoft entity, and Tencent has got 25% of Ubisoft. And the reason why is that Tencent wants the economic returns, but the control will stay with Ubisoft. Although obviously Tencent has already got an existing relationship with
Interesting.
Ubisoft, because funnily enough, the reason why the Guillemos are still running Ubisoft is that
Was it 35% even before? I thought it was bigger. Huh.
Tencent came to
Maybe they're doing what is date this is? February 18th. Interesting. Did I just did I just not remember this correctly? I thought it's more than 25%. Whatever.
save them a few years ago. Now, this current deal is amazing because there's protections against hostile takeovers and stuff that's obviously bad for the Guillemos, but that's just for Ubisoft. And remember, Ubisoft is the thing that's got Far Cry, that's got Assassin's Creed, that's actually got the big money brands. What about the other creative houses? Because as much as Anno's cool and the idea of a modern Heroes of Might and Magic that isn't shit is kind of cool, are we really going to see huge amounts of money go into that? And that then worries me. Will
You know what? You honestly know what I was thinking yesterday? I was also watching this video. I'm a big Heroes of Might and Magic fan, by the way. But the greatest game that will never be surpassed will always withstand the test of time no matter what is Heroes 3. Now, personally, I actually really enjoy 5. 5 is really good in my opinion. But Heroes 3 is the pinnacle of gaming. It is pure perfection at what it wants to do and what it does. It is immaculate. I don't think anything can actually beat Heroes 3 in terms of, well, anything, I guess, honestly. Heroes 3 is just unbeatable. There will never be a game that withstands time better than Heroes 3. Maybe Zanzara, the Hidden Portal. It's a Pokemon game where you collect pixies. Really cool. I love it. Shut up.
Ubisoft seek outside investment for Rayman, for Splinter Cell? And if so, will investors demand more control? Because you could look at this thing with Tencent and say, huh, I mean, you do exert control, but maybe not as much as you could have. But then again, it's for the likes of Assassin's Creed, which is actually proven to bring in loads of money. For more niche games, for smaller games, I really doubt they'll be getting any deals as good as the one that they've got here. And even if protections exist against the likes of hostile investors, well, that's good for the Guillemos, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to be good for us. Not for the smaller games that people deeply love, like Anno. Now, let's assume that Ubisoft leadership isn't stupid. I know, quite.
The thing about games like Anno is the fact that, hey, I can just play them anyway. I don't need a new Anno. I can just play an old one if I feel like it. I don't know if there even exist people that just, play Anno constantly. Now, I'm sure there's probably someone out there with 3K hours in it, but I think that's nicher than niche.
An assumption, but let's assume it. They won't expect Anno to match Assassin's Creed revenue. But what does that mean for their riskier projects, for their non-live service games? Will they get subsidized by the bigger teams, by the bigger titles? Now, this is not just idle speculation, because we very recently saw that go very badly. Let's take a look at Electronic Arts. A while ago, they separated their sports division from entertainment. The whole point is they were supposed to stand in their own and, not be commingled in terms of risk. What's actually happened? Well, both are just struggling independently. Entertainment is no longer able to hide behind the EA Sports FC funding. Things like Ultimate Team that somehow just make all the money in the world, so they can't hide behind that. And without that safety net, the entertainment division has
Well, maybe they should have concentrated less on women's football and would have been a little bit better.
absolutely floundered. Is that going to be Ubisoft's future? Because if the only thing you give a shit about is money, then Anno and Heroes of Might and Magic, or the Settlers, are not relevant to you. Assassin's Creed
I have no idea what the Settlers is. Am I missing out? Is the Settlers a good game? I have never seen this.
is, right? And while the Guillemot family members do appear to be
I mean, kind of looks neat. I'm not sure.
endless, leadership does actually matter here. I mean, these creative house leaders are going to be crucial, right? You could say that they're fulcrums. Now, do you remember when Ubisoft had big-name creative directors? That was people like Jade Raymond, Clint Hawking, Michel Ancel. Many of them have since left. So, where does the new creativity come from, especially if these creative leaders, known for like making video games, are now also having to run creative houses as businesses?
Why are you calling it a creative house? Like, an infrastructure for all of that already exists in these companies. Like, why? Bro, are you just trying to get fucking clown points at this point, honestly? It's just a giant joke. In any case, that was Billiard. 10 out of 10. Ubisoft is cooked, boys. Bye.